Okay. Everyone's good? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this meeting officially to order. The first thing I want to do tonight is I just want to read a statement that was posted on the Office of the New Milford Mayor Facebook page for anyone who has missed it. All of us have been deeply disturbed by the horrific death of George Floyd by a police officer in Minneapolis. The effects of this tragedy are being felt in communities across our nation, including our own. New Milford is fortunate to have a police department that provides exemplary leadership and professionalism that has resulted in a strong bond of trust between our officers and our residents. We send our sincerest condolences to Mr. Floyd's family, and it is our hope that this latest senseless act will finally provide the impetus for us to come together as a people to defeat racism, heal the wounds which pain us, and bridge the gaps that divide us. At this time, I'd like everyone to please rise for a moment of silent prayer and/or reflection. All of us have a lot on mind. I want us to think about the family of George Floyd, all the unrest that's going on in our country. Also, the mother of our purchasing agent, Kathy Michikowski, recently passed. And last night, the father of Sergeant George Herrero of the New Milford Police Department passed. So I asked us to think about all of them today. Thank you. Salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to
the
Flag.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the mayor and council of the Borough of New Milford have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall, and notices have been sent to the record of news. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy that will safeguard the infrastructure, provide fair, honest, courteous, and professional services, establish a sense of trust and accomplishment between all residents, and through research and prudent planning, seek to minimize risk while improving our services. We are sensitive to the needs and satisfaction of our taxpayers while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people within the revenue constraints imposed by state mandates, economic conditions, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Siraki Early.
Present.
Councilman Seymour.
present.
Councilwoman Duffy.
Here.
Council President Grotzky.
Here.
Councilwoman Sandhusen.
Present.
Councilwoman Grant.
Here.
Mayor Petrino.
Here. Okay. Under unfinished business, could I get a motion for the approval of the minutes from the May 27th, 2020 public session meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. We will move into new business, and the first item on our agenda is Executive Order 150, which we all know is outdoor dining and ABC temporary expansion of premises. And I believe our legal counsel, Kevin Kelly, wants to start us off with that.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I just want to confirm you can all hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. As the council and the public is probably aware, executive orders have been updated by the governor on a regular basis. The latest, I believe, came down on Wednesday evening late, which is Executive Order 150. That is coupled with two other documents. The first is an Executive Directive 2014 from Judith Persichelli, who is the Commissioner of the Department of Health, and also a special ruling from the New Jersey Division of Alcoholic Beverage Control, special ruling 2020-10. They were released together because they're all interrelated. Executive Order 150 dealt with several things, the first of which is the opening of brick and mortar non-essential businesses can return subject to certain guidelines. That doesn't necessarily require action by the borough at this point in time. However, with regard to 150, it also dealt with the reopening of restaurants throughout the state of New Jersey. They are not going to be opened due to COVID-19 internally. In other words, they're not going to resume normal businesses, but what they will allow is outdoor dining facilities to take place contiguous with the restaurant, so that you can have cafes or even something greater than that. And by greater, I just mean greater in size, not something fabulous, because we're all stuck with the current conditions. The reason the governor and the administration released several different documents at once, as I said, is interrelated. The commissioner's order from the Department of Health addresses the circumstances specifically that, and they are required to be followed by any establishment that does open pursuant to Executive Order 150, an outdoor dining facility. And it is pretty comprehensive. It includes all the things that at this point in time are common knowledge, probably weren't common knowledge 3 months ago. But, you know, the wearing of face masks, the providing hand sanitizer for staff and for public, social distancing at least 6 feet apart for tables of no more than 8. And there's numerous conditions that are required as a condition of that order if you're going to operate an outdoor business. In addition, the administration had the NJABC issue special ruling 2020-10, which allows licensed businesses that have licenses to serve, and it specifies most of the licenses within New Jersey, including licenses for restaurants, social clubs, that sort of thing, bars, restaurants, bars independent of restaurants, to expand their premise, the licensed premise, outside the footprint of the 4 corners of the building, so that they can expand into an outdoor dining area. That requires a very streamlined application process. As the council is probably aware, several months ago, we had one of the businesses in town make an application that took several months for a variety of reasons, one of which they initially tried to do it themselves and weren't represented by council. And then once council got involved, it went rather smoothly and quickly. But it's usually an expansion that goes to the mayor and council as well as ABC. That's not necessary during this period of emergency for these special temporary COVID permits to expand their licensed premises. The application process is fairly simple. They're going to submit it with, I believe, $75 to ABC. ABC will then refer it to the borough administrator and chief of police to get their endorsement of it. And once the endorsement is issued, the special ruling permit will be issued. So restaurants and bars can operate in the outdoor dining areas. That said, that Thursday, we had a task force meeting the mayor invited me to attend. to address this issue, and we were able to get the feedback of the various agencies involved, and it was recommended that obviously we want to support local businesses, we want to try to keep them surviving, that we attempt to explore this and recommend to the governing body that this be authorized. The reason it's going before the local governing body is the governor in Executive Order 150 stated that local control is the most effective and appropriate way to address the issue of outdoor dining. Different municipalities in the state have different kind of ordinances. We have, everything from a town like New Milford, which is largely developed, to towns out in Sussex County where, it's not, there's a lot of farm area. So the governor's office determined, and the attorney general determined to allow local control to set forth the manner in which the Executive Order 150 will be effectuated. It was discussed at the OEM meeting, task force meeting, whether the expansion should be considered in the right of way. For a variety of reasons, that was not the recommendation of the task force. It consisted, and both myself and Mr. Coughlin, the risk manager, were involved. Chris weighed in, the chief of police weighed in, and there are just a variety of issues with regard to that. And it was recommended not to have it on sidewalks. In addition, there's not many restaurants that would abut the sidewalk that wouldn't be able to expand in some other area. So the recommendation was to allow the expansion and recommend to the governing body that the expansion be allowed to take place on other areas. You look at most of the restaurants in town, and there was a review done. We had a list of all the restaurants that were both takeout and dine-in. I think we're limited to probably 6 dine-in restaurants in the municipality. Considered all of them, and for the most part, they can all service in an outdoor dining area on their property. They may need their landlord's permission, but they should be able to do it. That said, for the last several days, I've been preparing documents. I've researched what other towns are doing. I've spoken to other borough attorneys. There is no one cookie cutter way to do this. Ultimately, at the present time, due to quite frankly, the emergency and the urgency of the situation, I'm recommending 3 documents to the borough. They've been reviewed by OEM, our OEM coordinator, Denise Brunner, Vince, Chris, the mayor. We initially asked during the OEM meeting, Chief Murray, his take on it. Denise also weighed in from New Milford Volunteer Ambulance Corps perspective, and Chief Clancy weighed in. They really didn't have a lot of concerns because they felt the outdoor situation, quite frankly, lends itself to easy response. So they were in favor of it. They said, if anything, it makes life easier to get the people, to treat people if they need to intervene if there's a necessity, or to access it if there's some sort of a fire emergency. So that said, it was really a matter of checking out with the zoning officer and various other agencies. We have an outdoor cafe ordinance, as you know. It really just is a conditional use, and if you meet the terms of conditional use, you get the permit. And we have 3 businesses, I think, that use it. And what I've done is I have used the basic points of our ordinance as well as other points that various municipalities are considering. And I've prepared an amendment to the mayor's emergency declaration that sets forth all the parameters of how outdoor dining, if restaurants choose to do it, can go about doing it. In addition, I've prepared a resolution at this point in time where the governing body is once again memorializing and adopting and effectuating the mayor's orders and putting the council's imprimatur on the mayor's emergency declaration. And then I prepared an application, which is a streamlined application, which is similar to some other municipalities have done, that will get the administrator, and I think in the interest of making this happen as quickly as possible for these businesses, I think the borough administrator is a likely party to make the application too. And essentially what you're doing is giving a permit to allow outdoor dining to occur. I've circulated the various documents, but it's a permit application that would go to Christine. There's no fee. We have 6 businesses probably that would avail themselves of it for any fee that you would get. The vast majority of towns have determined not to charge businesses in this economic time for such a permit, and I don't see the benefit to the borough, particularly if people are just trying to keep their business afloat. It might be seen as a burden. It addresses all the issues that should be considered. It asks for a description of what they're proposing for the outdoor temporary dining, and it's called the COVID-19 temporary outdoor dining permit that you'd be authorizing and promulgating this evening. And it makes sure that the property owner has given their consent to the business going forward with it. It gets a description of what's being done. It provides a basic layout of what's being proposed, a lighting plan. It shows safety barriers that we require under our cafe ordinance. It ensures that there's adequate access for emergency response, 4-foot widths in the aisles, and they still actually have to go further because of 6 feet to the social distancing. Depictions of all the means of egress, formal space delineation between any parking area and where the outdoor dining area is going to be. Signage and any kind of equipment they're going to use is going to be temporary along the lines of what we require under the outdoor cafe, which is basically outdoor furniture. We don't want this extending beyond the permitted area, and it gives any details as to canopies or tents that might be proposed. The executive order is silent as to it, but some municipalities are not permitting canopies and tents. Others are. The overwhelming recommendation from DOH and from our own, based upon my conversation with Denise Brunner of our own OEM, is that if they do have any kind of canopy or tent, there'd be no sides. The idea of this is that the flow of air is supposed to be a free flow of air. This is really just designed to keep people out of any kind of sudden inclement weather or keep them out of the sun. I don't have a problem with it. I think it makes sense. Businesses have already asked for it to see if they're going to be permitted to do that. And I think it gives a sense of delineation of where the area of outdoor dining is going to be permitted so people aren't just going anywhere. It also gives, in my opinion, the ability for emergency responders to know exactly where they need to go as opposed to looking around and seeing a fence or some sort of divider or something like that. So I think it makes sense, but we've recommended that there be no sides to these structures, and the structures would need review pursuant to other laws of the fire department to make sure they're safe and accessible and flame retardant, things along that nature. We've asked for a lighting plan just to be provided, controls as to litter and waste, and that there be no outdoor music, because at this point it's really just to try to get the businesses back on their feet for the purpose of being able to start serving again and getting people back to work, and quite frankly, getting our residents out of their homes so they can dine if they choose to do so, and try to hopefully take another small step towards a resumption of life as we knew it before COVID-19 hit. The application would go into Christine. It's reviewed by various departments, including zoning, police, fire, for recommendation purposes. It's not like a site plan application or anything like that. Quite frankly, this is a temporary measure during an emergency. I think a resolution is probably the best way to do it. It may come a time where we, for whatever reason, may have to adopt it via an ordinance. But as everybody on the panel knows, an ordinance is going to take some time. And in the meantime, we have businesses that are hurting, and I believe it's the right thing to do to proceed as I've outlined with do it by virtue of the emergency declaration with the details of it in there, and then the council can memorialize, adopt, and approve it as it would with any other mayoral action or any other action we were taking. So effectively what you're doing is you're just issuing a special permit, and it's a temporary permit. It runs from June 15th to November 1. The ABC special ruling goes to November 30th. I think given our winters, that's optimistic. I also had some concern about snow loads. I mean, we had 10 years ago snow on October 31 that required plows, and I'd be concerned with canopies with snow loads out there. So I think we're better off ending it. I think Mother Nature may end it before that if we have a particularly bad summer or a very quick onset winter with a lot of snow and ice and that sort of thing, which can, unfortunately, it happens in the Northeast. Maybe Southern Jersey is a little more temperate, but you know, we've all experienced what can happen. I just don't want anybody getting hurt. As I said, the application would go into Christine. It would be reviewed by all our borough officials, including the health official. Our Department of Health has a role in this. They are going to review compliance. Sam Yanovich, I spoke to today, he has a guidance memorandum that gives very detailed and specific requirements that any operator that's going to be operating with these outdoor dining areas is going to have to comply with, and it's going to be inspected. And if there is non-compliance, the borough has reserved the right to revoke this. You know, no question. I mean, we can't, you know, people are dying from this. We can't take the risk of someone getting sick or another cluster popping up, particularly when we're, you know, number 2, I think, or number 3 next to Teaneck, maybe number 4 with Hackensack and Englewood. But we've had quite a lot of cases, and we've had more fatalities than we can bear. So that said, we want to make sure the operators understand that it will be revoked, and you know, we're not going to take this lightly. The applicant's certifying as part of the application process that they've read 150, they've read the executive director from the Department of Health, that they are, if they have a license, approved for their special ruling to serve alcohol outside. They understand that they have to comply, and the failure to comply will result in revocation. This is not going to be an easy undertaking for the applicants, but I think it's in their interest, in the public's interest, and in the borough's interest that it be as detailed. And quite frankly, it's required by law. It's been set out. I reviewed what Sam produced, and while he's the Department of Health, and this governing body has no jurisdiction over that board, that's a separate board in and of itself. I did want to make sure it was consistent with what the Commissioner of the Department of Health requested, and it is. I think he did a very good job. It was very specific, and he tried to make it as user-friendly as possible. You know, it'll be up to the various applicants and their landlords to make sure they're compliant. They're not going to be able to increase their capacity as a result of this. The mayor's emergency declaration says this is seen to be a substitute and not a way to increase capacity. We're going to require each of them to set forth on their application what they're approved for from a capacity perspective. And that can't be exceeded. I don't think that given the limitations of the areas we're talking about, given the spacing requirements that we have, and given the limitations that we're going to see anybody being able to take their entire dining room operation and move it under a tent. I just don't think it's physically possible to do that, so I don't really have that concern. And I saw Councilwoman Grant had a question.
I had a couple of questions if you're finished, Kevin.
Just let me finish up and
I think
I'll answer as much as I can.
everyone has questions on this, so I'm just gonna go in the order that I see you on my Zoom, so everyone has an opportunity. Does that work? Everyone okay with that?
Sure.
Rand,
Oh, I don't think
So-
Kevin's finished yet.
Yeah, if I could just, I'll sum up that, you know, it would be an application process. There'll be a quick review by the borough, and then it will be up to the operators to comply. We did require the noise ordinance in the borough to be complied with, and I believe we set a 10 o'clock curfew for this. Now, it's interesting. I don't know how this is going to play out with the executive order, which, as far as I know, is still in effect for an 8 o'clock curfew. But I'm assuming that's going to change, and I don't want to bring this back to the governing body again. So we've asked basically for the hours of operation. We don't want people going until 1, 2 in the morning. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, this is something that's a work in progress. It's subject to change. You know, there may be better ways of doing it. Maybe, you know, we'll have to revisit the right of way, but at least the best recommendations at this point is that, you know, for anybody with a liquor license, this is probably the most appropriate way to do it. And for a variety of liability issues and enforcement issues, and quite frankly, access to the public issues, we think this is the OEM has recommended. I agree that this is probably the best way to address it. That said, I'm happy to address any questions that the members of the governing body have.
I'm gonna start with Randy. You're first on my screen.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you, Mayor. This is regarding the space. So you referenced the fact that they will most likely go into the, you know, the property. They'll probably take up some parking area.
Definitely.
So now that, number one, we're waiving parking requirements. And then what about now there'll be some on-street parking. Will there be any suspension of other parking issues, particularly Main Street, I know in that area, or is all of it waived? How's that going to work? Because the only way they're going to be able to achieve the outside is to take their parking area.
That's a very good question. It's something I've quite frankly wrestled with. And what we're doing is we're effectively suspending any ordinance that contradicts this, simply for this period of emergency. I mean, there's no way to, in our borough, given the spacing, the density of it, that there's really any other way to deal with it.
Wait, I want to just ask a question about that. We're waiving parking requirements from a zoning perspective, but are we waiving the ordinances that restrict parking on certain streets?
Well, I believe that's already been done as part of the initial emergency declaration, where the chief was directed to just simply go to summer hours right away.
No, but there are streets that we only allow parking on one side of the street.
That has not been changed. That would take the governing body to take some other action.
That's part of my question. Right.
So if you're thinking of Main Street, which is probably where the 3 restaurants at issue are, or 4 restaurants, This would not change any of that. This is really just
Okay.
addressed to deal with the on-site parking requirement. And I mean, quite frankly, our sidewalks are not that big. If this is the Champs-Élysées or someplace in Barcelona where we have huge sidewalks, I wouldn't be talking about this way. We'd be able to accommodate everybody on our sidewalks, but we really don't have that space. And even if we do, you know, I don't know that you can achieve on some of our blocks 4 feet, 5 feet of the sidewalks. How are you going to put a table of 2 people and have them 6 feet apart and then have safety for pedestrians not to be forced into the street? So that was one of the things we talked about in task force and then thereafter, just amongst the various officials and trying to come up with this solution. So it does suspend it. I don't really see any other way to make this happen. So those areas around the restaurants are going to have some parking on the streets. We're going to have to work it through as best we can if you want to achieve this and keep, quite frankly, restaurants surviving.
Thank you.
I think one thing in that area, we should encourage all to use that American Legion public lot that we have, whether it's employees or customers. I think this will be a time for people to start using that. Did you have anything else, Randy? No? Thea, do you have any questions about the outdoor dining? You're up
Yeah,
next.
so we only have, what, 4, 5 restaurants that has their own property that they can put these tables at. So there are a number of others in other restaurants, takeouts, that don't have that space, sidewalk space, that are in many shopping centers, such as Brookchester. Are they going to be able, once, I guess they would have to get the approval from the landlords, to use some area in front of their establishment into the parking lot?
I think what you need to be mindful of is we have 2 different issues, and particularly Brookchester, because I know it came up. That sidewalk they can use because that's private property. What we're really talking about is right of way, where we don't want to have the dining area out into the right of way. Right of way would be the sidewalk on non-private property or abutting private property. Brookchester is set back from the right of way. They have their private parking lot, and that's one of the reasons Barrel and Brew, after their hearings, was approved, because they did have the ability to pass and regulate that. It's going to be up to the restaurant that's seeking the application to work with their landlord to figure out what they can do and do safely. I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to speak for Chris because she's in the role of reviewing these, but I'm sure the borough will attempt to give guidance. But you know, this is pretty clear, and we can't design it for the landlords or for the tenants to figure out. They're going to have to. They have their business relationship. They got to see what works. So if your question is limited to just that area, I don't see a problem with that sidewalk at all because it's not right of way. There are other spots in town where that may be a right of way issue, but we also have very narrow sidewalks.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Sandhusen, if you have any questions about outdoor dining, you're up.
Thank you. My questions were relating mostly to parking, but I do have a comment as liaison to the Environmental Commission. I am noticing I have a question about the garbage. When we're talking about using for carryout the amount of styrofoam because it's not recyclable. So I just hope we can encourage our businesses to be mindful of the amount of refuse and to examine using some more environmentally friendly materials. Since we're going to single-use materials, it's something to think about going ahead in the future. So thank you. I'm complete.
Councilwoman Grant.
Thanks, Mayor. I was wondering, you said that the failure to comply would result in a revocation, but would it be an immediate revocation? Will there be a process by which they have the right to refute the charge? Will there be a summons issued or just a warning? How will that work?
To be perfectly candid, I don't know. I wouldn't think we would do anything other than, give appropriate notice. But given the circumstances, if we have somebody who is not exercising social distancing, is not sanitizing, is not following the guidelines, and there's a real risk of someone in the public getting sick, I'd rather advise to revoke it and then review and see if they can come back. I do agree with you. I would have concerns about due process, and the borough would follow what we typically do with all due process rights, but to go through that at this level, given the fact that I got this Wednesday and this had to be in tonight for the governing body to consider, I will trust that the administration is level-headed and will certainly be mindful and respectful of people's constitutional rights.
Who will be doing the checking? Is it the Department of Health? Is it the OEM?
It's going to be the Department of Health. This is not an OEM issue, really. Even though it's under our emergency deck, the only way it deals with the OEM is because we're permitting the reopening of restaurants that have previously been ordered to be closed. Beyond that, it's pretty clear if you review the commissioner's order that this is a Department of Health issue and it would be subject to our Board of Health. I would assume, if there's a problem, the police are going to review. I mean, if there's a noise ordinance, that's not a Department of Health. Police are going to be called. If there's a crowding problem, I think our ordinary borough officials would just act in the ordinary course.
And what about kitchen inspections? Because I would imagine that there are even harsher or more stricter requirements on the people working in the kitchen than there ever have been before. Will there be regular inspections of the kitchen and the kitchen personnel?
They are. That Sam Yanovich has promulgated his guidance. He called it his guidance letter, and it addresses inside and outside. And both the DOH order and Sam's directive, which kind of summarizes that and says what the borough is going to want, are pretty specific. People have to be wearing masks, and you're not supposed to be inside. You can go inside for the purpose of accessing the outdoor area, but that's it. And then go inside for accessing the restroom, masked. There's supposed to be hand sanitizers, that sort of thing. But if you review Sam's letter, it does address what they're going to do. And this doesn't change anything from the regular review by the Board of Health. So if there's a problem, they're supposed to be, they're a business operating, so they have to have social distancing and masks and that sort of thing.
And there are requirements, I assume, for the regular sanitizing of the bathrooms and the tables?
The tables have to be wiped down and sanitized, or they say disinfected, after every use. In terms of the bathrooms, I have not seen that candidly, Councilwoman, but I would assume it would be, whatever is currently being done, plus. I just don't know. I wouldn't answer for Sam on that.
Thank you.
Councilman Seymour.
I was just curious, because we're talking about sanitizing. And maybe this is a dumb question, but when the restaurants are closed, are the tables and chairs going to be covered, brought inside? And I'm asking this because if they're closed, summertime, warm nights, it's light, could be light out, depending on the time, of course, and kids could come by and sit there and touch the stuff. I'm just a little concerned about the stuff being sanitized in the hours that when it closes until it reopens.
I don't know how to address that. I mean, if it's closed, it's closed. No one should be in there, and if they're in there, the police should be called and they should be arrested. That's what would happen, because it's effectively like being in the restaurant. We haven't addressed whether they have to move the tables inside and out, that kind of thing. I mean, quite frankly, my recommendation would be is let's see how it goes, and then we could always issue another directive if this is becoming a problem. I don't think people are going to be hanging out. I mean, again, this is private property in the business. I don't think it's going to be illuminated all night long. First of all, because of the cost. Second of all, we have our own requirements on that. So, it's a good point. I did consider it. We do require some to bring their tables in, but it's a little different. In this, they're going to have it roped off. So I don't know. We could certainly do that if that's the collective wisdom of the governing body. But I think for right now, it would be more important to just get it going and see how we do. That said, in theory, at the end of the night, they should be sanitizing those tables, and then at the beginning of the day, they should be sanitizing.
Council President Grotzky.
I have a safety question down at Brookchester. I understand that it's private property down there, but if I remember correctly, when we did Barrel and Brew, we made sure that there would be a walkway for pedestrians so they don't have to walk through the parking lot, which could be dangerous with cars pulling in and out. My question is, are we going to make sure that there's space for people to walk on the sidewalk?
That would be part of the layout, and that's something that Chris would consider with the chief and make sure it's okay. I'm sure the chief will consult his staff to take a look at it. I have not required bollards to go up. That's not a condition, and quite frankly, I don't know if you're going to get bollards to go up. I don't know who's working and not working. And then the question is, if it's pulling in, maybe they come up with a solution where they allow a portion of the parking lot to be used. I don't know until I see it, is kind of the answer. Not that it's me making the decision, it'll be our borough officials, but I think to speculate on what they might do at this point is kind of tough. I don't even know if restaurants are going to avail themselves of this. I assume they are. I think it makes sense, but if you think about it, it's an expensive undertaking. It's coming after 4 months of being closed, and they may be doing better with takeout than they ever would with this kind of outdoor dining. I think the governor put this out as an alternative to give some of the restaurants an opportunity, but I've had private clients say this doesn't move the needle for them in terms of the damage. Quite frankly, they would lose money, and it would be a worse proposition. So they're going to continue to do takeout and delivery and that sort of thing. And that may be what we see. I don't know. I think we have to just wait and see what comes in. And believe me, as an attorney, I'm never a wait and see what happens type of. I don't think that's good guidance, but I don't have an alternative here because I don't know what they're proposing. But there is going to be a layout. It is going to be reviewed. We do want to see that they have the 4 feet for the passage of pedestrians using any public sidewalk. We can insist upon that for the private. And it's not like they're going to come in and say, this is it. We're giving a permit. We don't want to give the permit because we don't think it's appropriate. And we won't do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a situation where, as we're moving forward, we're going to be working and communicating with the landlords and the business owners, and, we're going to make it right.
I came up with a couple
Chris,
things.
I'm sorry.
Kevin, I know I've had the benefit of having reviewed this with you and looking at it a couple of times, but you know how you look at something again and you find more things that you want to ask about. So one thing I'd like to ask to have added maybe at the top underneath the heading is that the application needs to be submitted.
Can I ask which document?
The permit.
Yeah, okay, all right.
That it should be submitted via email with my email address, because that would be the most expeditious way to get it processed.
I think I provided for that in the executive order that they could be submitted electronically. I'm sorry, not the executive order. I'm getting my terms confused. In the mayor's emergency declaration, I envisioned doing that because, quite frankly, I didn't want you handling a lot of paper.
Right. I think it would be good if we put it right on the application, though, at the top, because it'll make it
I can do that, or you can do that. I don't have
Okay.
any problem with that.
Very good. Okay. And then we talked a little bit about the fact that with a tent, Alan needs to do an inspection.
Yes.
So where it says on number 7, applicants shall detail plans, should we add something about the fact that they need to contact the fire official to have it inspected prior to a permit being issued?
We can do that, and I thought about that, and this is, I guess, more of a question. I don't know for tents right now what our procedure is. I imagine we don't get a lot of tent applications. I know for ponchos, they had Cinco de Mayo, and that was
There's a size
reviewed.
requirement. It has to go above a certain size to trigger the need for the inspection. And I don't remember if it's 10 by 10 or 12 by 12. I could get that from Alan.
I think, to streamline it, we're asking a lot of these applicants, and I get it, and it's the law, and I'm not excusing it, but if they have to then suddenly run from department to department doing this, I mean, it's tough enough for attorneys in these circumstances to figure out what's going on. To have a business that's trying to get going, I think it's something maybe we just make a referral to Alan and have him take a look at it would be the appropriate thing, because if we have multiple applications going or he's not available, there's just going to be delayed.
Okay.
I don't have any problem with him doing it. I think he's supposed to, and you're right. I do recall the size threshold, but under these circumstances, I don't think it's a bad idea to have him take a look.
Okay. And then we talked about that it could be revoked for non-compliance, but you also mentioned in your comments that if there was a spike or something that we could revoke it. We could revoke it for other reasons, and that I didn't see in the application.
Well, I was using that as an example. I'm not saying that is a reason, but if certainly if they had a problem there, it was something we would have to consider. But
I just wanted to know if we wanted to have that caveat that, if the town decides for whatever reason that we don't want to continue it for any reason.
I think we could probably put in that they're terminable at will. We put in the, I can address that. If the town determines that we can't do it just due to the emergency issue, or we can modify the emergency declaration.
Okay.
But if we want to,
yeah, if that happened, the emergency declaration would have to be modified anyway.
right.
Okay.
But we can certainly, I mean, it only goes into effect until the emergency is over. It's not going to continue. If something happened where the state of emergency was lifted, we had a sense of safety and everybody said, go back to normal, they would go back to normal. That's specified.
But it would terminate on November 1st anyway, this temporary permit, regardless of whether
it terminates by its own operation November 1st, or when the emergency declaration is lifted by the governor.
If that's before, not if that's after, though.
Whatever is first, whatever comes first. But we can certainly make it clear in both the deck. I mean, the deck has been issued, but we can make it clear in this application that the borough reserves the right to terminate this program or permit.
And then I just wanted to ask if there was any if for whatever reason inside service resumes prior to November 1st.
Then this automatically terminates.
Okay, so they can't have a combination of the two?
No, it's envisioned in the executive order, once they go back to inside operations, that this whole program, so to speak, or this whole concept will end.
Expire.
In addition, if you look, it's specifically limited on the number of patrons, the capacity remaining the same. So if they are
Here's the thing
full
though,
capacity, it's over.
but they're probably going to reopen for inside service not at full capacity. So that's why I had the question that would they want to or are they going to be allowed to continue to serve people outside because they're not going to have full capacity inside?
I had not considered that. I don't know the answer to that, but I would think it would, quite frankly, given the way it reads, it would make sense because you're not going to have full capacity inside. If we're keeping more people outside, I don't see a problem with it unless it becomes an overall problem.
So it wouldn't automatically end then if inside opened up.
If they go back to full capacity inside, it ends.
Capacity.
If it's a ramp up, or if they go back to full capacity inside, it ends, and it would terminate because it's not supposed to be in addition to your capacity. In addition, if they lift the emergency declaration or allow a return to internal dining under EO 150, it ends. But I don't think that's really going to be an issue we have to worry about, unfortunately. I think this is going to be around for a while, and we're going to be living this way probably till November.
And so, just to be clear, I mean, nobody's going to be serving anybody outside on June 15th because unless they have a permit in hand.
They shouldn't be.
Okay.
It doesn't go into effect until June 15th, number one. Number two, they need the permit in hand to do this. So if they're not doing it, then they're doing it without permission. And then we can deal with that as we ordinarily would deal with anybody else doing something without permission.
I think that's it for me.
Councilwoman Duffy.
So just to complete that thought, do you generally contact the restaurant owners? Like, how will they know? Like, and when can they get started on their application?
They have already been in touch with the mayor and I believe Christine, the ones that are interested. We're going to post it on the borough website with all the related materials, including the application, the resolution, the executive order, the mayor's declaration, the commissioner's guidelines, Sam's guidelines, and the ABC application process.
Okay.
I don't think this is a big secret in the restaurant industry. They're already knocking on the door.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
Is there an intention to go forward and contact them? I would defer to Chris on that. I don't know what she would say.
No.
No.
I mean, it's really on their, it's on them. We have to come up with the rules. They have to, look for the opportunities, I think. And of course, obviously, if there's phone calls, I'm going to brief everybody in my office to make sure that they're fully understanding of what the rules are and where the information can be found so that they can direct people in the right place.
Good.
Councilwoman Siraki Hurley, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. So how long exactly is this process will take once they come in for the application? When will they get this permit? Is it a day, a week?
Well, it's having not even had one, I don't know. I would think it would be as expeditious as possible. But certainly part of the process is going to be to get Alan to take a look at it, get Vince to take a look at it, have the Board of Health give their approval. They're going to have to go through the ABC process before they can be outside. And I don't know, I have no clue how that'll go.
So they will have to wait for inspection.
Hopefully not. I mean, the intent of this, we don't have that many businesses. This is not like, you can open up a new restaurant and do this. This is really for someone who's existing at the moment. And I think we have 6 that it might relate to. I think we can move as expeditiously as possible. I have no indication how fast ABC is going to do it. I assume they're going to have thousands of restaurants looking for the special ruling. That may take a couple of weeks. I don't know. If the governor is ramped up to do it.
Their process is done online, so that should help. I mean, it's an established software program that the liquor licensees are familiar with. So, they've used it to apply for other permits, so it should be simple enough for them to do in a quick manner, hopefully.
In addition, I'd note that the ABC special ruling gives till November 30th for their deadline. I can't imagine they're going to put this program into place the way they have, and not be able to move it expeditiously and have people getting these in July and August, because what do you have? You have 30, 60 days to it's really contrary to what the governor has announced he wants. So I assume, I don't know, but I assume they're going to move it expeditiously, and certainly the borough is in a position to do it. Everybody that would ordinarily weigh in on any of this has already weighed in, and Chris knows where to go. So it's not that lengthy. It's basically a 2-page application to get this going forward.
Once someone is approved on the application, will we be providing them with an actual permit or something they can stick in the window, a certain color, so it's recognized that they were approved?
I haven't considered that. What I had considered in the interest of time was for Chris to just sign off on this, just like a construction official would sign off on permit approval. We can certainly do that if you want to do something like that.
After the fact, if it's filled out, hand them to me. I'll go and personally deliver them.
Yeah, we just maintain a copy, and it just gives
I'm
Chris.
just going to email it back with signatures.
Yeah, they'll have it. I mean, we could ask them to post it in the window if we want to do that. That's not a bad idea. But I think, if we're Hoboken and you have, outdoor cafes,
Right.
million restaurants, there's only a few that we're going to know. We're going to know if they didn't have it. And we're going to know if it's revoked. So I really don't see that as big a concern, but if it is a concern of yours, Mayor, we could certainly make that happen.
I think they should post something. It's just me. I think people should see it. I think we should see it. But, I mean, we don't have to hold anything up for it. I'm just saying, even after they get the application back, we put something on a colored piece of paper that they can hang up. That's fine. But that's just me.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, we can just use the application, have them post the application in the window.
Fine.
The stamp that says.
Is there any other questions? Councilwoman Grant.
No, I just said with a stamp that says approved, so it's not just the application, but an indication that it's been approved.
Right.
Yeah, that's contained on the last page. It says approved by Chris, yes or no, and her signature and any comments you might make.
Good.
Okay. Item number 2, schedule of events. I have just a few updates. As we're aware, I had mentioned the New Milford Recycling Center has resumed public operations since June 1st. The hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The borough's recreation tennis courts also resumed public operation on June 1st. Maximum occupancy is 4 people per court. Kennedy Memorial Field resumed on-field use as of June 1st. The maximum occupancy is 25 people. And still, there's no organized or contact sports allowed, and that is by executive order. Upcoming, the Borough Hall, Public Library, and Senior Activity Center. The borough is currently working on detailed reopening plans, and there's no timetable at this time for either of those buildings. Senior activities, the Senior Activity Center has launched a number of virtual classes via their first Facebook page. Chair yoga will actually be taking place tomorrow at 10 a.m. So anyone interested, log on to the Senior Activity Center's Facebook page to check that out. And I believe the director, Lynn Sullivan, is actually teaching that class.
Yes.
That's it for updates at this time. As things continue to open or change or be postponed, we will keep you updated as much as possible at these meetings, and we post them on the Office of the Mayor Facebook page as soon as we learn something has changed.
I have a question, Mayor.
With that, we can
I have a question.
go ahead.
I read somewhere that there are places that are limiting tennis players to 2 per court. In other words, so they can play singles rather than doubles, which makes
Bergen County.
Yeah, that's where I saw it, which makes a lot more sense than 4 people, because if you have 2 people on a side, there invariably is close. They get close together. Sometimes there's even contact. Whereas whether you play, if you're playing singles, you're separated by the net and by a distance. So it is much safer.
According to the Attorney General guidelines, 4 people to court is fine as long as they maintain 6-foot social distancing. And it also works for families of 4.
I know it works for
Who
families
don't have-
or I'm just saying, I'm questioning whether it's really
Right.
safe, and I don't think it is. I think Bergen County is correct in having 2 people per court, but if that's what you think is best, and the council thinks is.
I'll weigh in. Bergen County also in their tennis facilities have many, many more courts than we do. And they're able to spread people out. Not that we're not going to be as careful, but you know, if we're trying to slowly open up, it's a good spot. I don't know that you know, they're going to really be heavy contact into Milford on the in tennis. I don't know.
Well,
So.
I was an avid tennis player.
Oh yeah, I knew it. And
the other thing with our tennis courts is it's a controlled environment because people have to actually purchase a key to use the tennis courts. So it's somewhat more controlled than just an open public tennis court.
Well, it's controlled, but if you have 4 people on each court, there are 2 courts, you have 8 people, and they're relatively, I mean, and they move. I mean, it's not like golf where you can socially distance because you hit a ball, stand there for a while. The tennis ball is moving, and you're moving, and everybody on the court is moving. So it's not the same. Just my 2 cents.
We're following Attorney General guidelines. If anybody wants to change that, now's the time. I suggest we keep it the way it is.
I have no problem with it.
I don't have any problem either.
I feel that it's fine the way it is.
Ira, you
I'm
okay
good.
with it?
Yep.
Okay. Administrators report.
Yes. Okay. Some housekeeping things for tonight. The first would be that we would need a motion in order to add the resolution to memorialize, ratify, and adopt the 4th Amendment to the Emergency Declaration as Resolution 2020-155. This amendment is the amendment that was summarized by Mr. Kelly earlier in the meeting to allow outdoor dining.
Okay. Do you want me to ask for a motion at all 3 or one at a time?
I think it's probably better if
Whatever's
we
easier.
at one at a time. But there's actually
Could I
going to be,
get-
I just want to also clarify, there's going to be 2 resolutions on the agenda for amendments at this point, because there is Resolution 2020-148, which memorializes, ratifies, and adopts the emergency declaration dated May 29th, 2020, which was the one that increased the number of people that could be out on the field, I believe. And then we have the subsequent, which becomes Resolution 2020-155, which is for outdoor dining.
Okay. So could I get a motion to add Resolution 2020:155 to the list tonight?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that one is added.
Okay. And then we also had a request come in during the week from Ascension Church asking to waive a permit fee. They want to do some minor interior renovations to their vestibule. And in the past, we have waived permit fees for religious organizations for minor work. So I did circulate a resolution earlier today to authorize that waiver of that fee. And we would need a motion to add that as 2020-156.
May I get a motion to
Motion.
add 2020:150?
So moved.
We're here. Second.
Yes. Can you
All
hear
in
me?
favor?
Aye.
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 Randy, you're on mute. I just wanted to let you know.
No wonder.
Can I ask who seconded that motion? I'm sorry.
I think it was Matt.
Okay.
Matt, did you second that motion? Yeah, I
Got
thought
it.
it was Matt.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, let's see.
Did all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
So another topic that was discussed at our task force meeting this past week was that we've been getting some questions from people who are interested in holding garage sales, and also solicitors who are interested in resuming soliciting. And, you know, as of the original emergency declaration, we were not issuing solicitors permits. The chief had shared at that meeting that he has gotten guidance from the Attorney General's office that has actually approved solicitors to be out at this point in time, but did not approve garage sales at this point in time, although they said that that's going to be coming soon. Then the other thing I wanted to share is that we have a pre-construction meeting on Wednesday for the basketball courts at Kennedy Field that's going to be held virtually. And last, I spoke with the mayor earlier today about the possibility in the near future that there may be some resumption for meetings of committees virtually. It's not something that we're moving on as of right now, but in anticipation of that, I'm going to be just outlining just a very brief set of guidelines of what people would need to do in order to follow the requirements and to advertise those meetings. And I'm going, once I have that drafted, I'll be circulating that to all of the liaisons so that they can share that with their committees. And that's it for me, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, before we open to the public, we'll go around the table. Start with Council President Grotzky. Anything
I
in
do
the
have
report?
I do have a question though. I believe the governor is now opening up swimming pools. Do we have any indication as far as what the swim club will be doing?
I think they're filling the pools up.
I don't know what they're going to be doing. I spoke to John Heineman today regarding his discussions with the state in terms of various recreation facilities. We don't have guidance yet as to what they're going to require specifically, but some of the guidelines are pretty extensive. The Department of Health is basically promulgating regulations for the pools to go forward. I think that would be issued on the 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, on or before the 22nd. But it's the things that John's aware of are pretty extensive, and the pool's going to have to cooperate with that and obey it as per the EO. Permitting it. So, and I don't know who's going to be enforcing it because I don't know what the regs are at this point. So we'll be getting some more guidance on that. My understanding from John is they've been calling, trying to coordinate with him to see what he knew, and they're hoping to open, is what I know. I don't know if Chris or
It seems like with everything, the governor announces something before there's any guidance. And then all the questions come, and we wait and wait and wait. So that's pretty frustrating.
Mr. Mayor, if I can.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
Just that's actually the point. Speaking to John today, some of the frustration he's having is we're trying to move forward with plans because the governor announced baseball, but prohibited contact sports. And one of the things that Mr. Heineman pointed out is from both the high school and the state perspective, baseball is a contact sport. So it's very frustrating to our recreation department. I can't imagine what the pool's going through. I'm sure they're equally frustrated, but you know, it is what it is.
Councilwoman Sandhusen, you're next
All right.
on my screen.
Okay, thank you. So I have I have some good news to report from the Environmental and Energy Commission that they have been awarded a $1,500 grant from ANJAC. This is for signage and creating a passive, for marking New Milford Woods as a passive park. So this is a nice first phase. There will be a sign that will, to mark the entrance, that will match the green signs around the park. So it'll add some consistency in the New Milford parks and expand our recreation to passive recreation. And during the pandemic, we've been shown very much greatly how important access to nature has been to well-being, both physically and emotionally. So that'll be a nice moment, nice way to honor the hard work for people who spent the time and energy to preserve the New Milford Woods as well. So yeah. So, and then the future plans with that is to develop. The commission has been on pause and has not been able to meet, but it is one of their goals to create a 1, 3, 5, and 10-year plan. So, so that we can really work on doing some stewardship and revitalization of nature down in that area. So, the New Milford Municipal Alliance has been exploring some funding sources. Currently, they have a clothing donation bin at Main Street, 7-Eleven, that they receive $1,500 a year for, and they're paid quarterly. The total is $1,500 a year. They're looking, they have a request. They'd like to propose to the municipality to add one more bin to remind people the grants for the Municipal Alliance had been reappropriated for the pandemic. So the committee is investigating alternative methods, supplemental methods. So they're looking to add one bin someplace in the municipality, and they're requesting recommendations from the mayor and council as to location on this. One of the questions is there a limitation on the number of bins in the municipality? And they're also additionally going to be requesting and proposing a bin at with the New Milford Public School District, since much of our funding goes to support peer education, and that's a very highly very well loved program, and really is very influential and inspirational for, it's a peer leadership program that they're very motivated to be able to continue supporting the school with. So that's a question. And then I have another item, another question, but do you want to answer that one first?
Just wanted to ask, I had sent you earlier today, I don't know if you had a chance to see that, but I sent you the borough ordinance regarding clothing bins and the application that you need to fill out when you want to add one.
That did not show up in my email. I'm experiencing technical delays with my computers. I have, since this whole thing, like my epidemic has been technology. So I will look for that.
Yes, it does give the guidelines about the placement, and there's an application to complete in order to, and then it gets reviewed. I don't know if anybody wants to weigh in if they have some suggestions about a location.
I was going to say, you know, if you give me a chance, I'll take a drive around. I'll kind of take a look at some areas where we have them, where we don't. Maybe one could be added, maybe a different area, and I can just coordinate with you, Lisa, if that's fine.
Okay. Did anyone else?
If anyone has it, throw it out.
I was just wondering, but you're answering it, how many we do have in town. And the other problem I'm having, and I know we're in the pandemic, but even it was prior to this, how things were not being picked up at a reasonable amount of time where there would be clothing on the outside, you know, black bags on the outside of the containers. Who controls that? Who looks into that? Who covers that? And how many do we
Usually-
really have in town?
Property maintenance, isn't it?
And Vin calls up the company when they see a problem. I guess, you know, part of the problem is, especially down by the DPW, you know, we have, I think, 4 cans there, but it seems like people bring more stuff than can actually fit in them. So I don't know if that's an area that could use another one to eat more capacity. But the ways those are set up, they're blocking a like an outlet box, so they're actually protecting something coming out of the ground. So we may not want to put one there, but you know, Vince sees them. They're on camera down there. When there's a problem, you know, he calls the company and they get there as fast as they can. Randy, did you have something? Oh, I thought you were doing the weighty. No? Okay.
No, maybe I was in my sleep, you know, I don't know. A fly, I don't know.
Using her hands.
I mean,
That's why.
all right, now that you called on me, you know I can't resist.
All right, but
I think
I have one more question. So
I think the idea
Oh.
of putting one by the school is a great idea. So
Yeah.
Oh.
do that. I think that's great.
yeah, that's part of the proposal. So that would bring the Municipal Alliance up to a total of 3 bins at $1,500 annually each. So that is part of their plan.
Councilwoman,
Yes,
you have, there's one what, at 7-Eleven?
currently, yes.
And where is the second one?
That's the request.
Oh, I thought you said if it was at the high school or at the school, that would be the 3rd bin.
So there's a request for the municipality for 1 additional bin. So that would be 2 bins for the municipality. And then there's a request in proposal going to the New Milford Public School Board for a bin on school property. So that would bring a total of 3 income bins for the Municipal Alliance, but only two would be on municipal property.
I think we could find a spot for 1 on borough property somewhere. I'll take a look, and like I said, I'll coordinate with you. But if anyone else sees a location, just let me know. I'll check it out.
It might be too close to a school, but what about the parking lot over by Knights, because it's very visible?
That was one of the places I was going to look at, but
No, Randy's not liking that idea.
No need for clutter. That shouldn't be the first thing we install.
Yeah, we're just gonna, thank you, Councilwoman Duffy.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'd rather see a charging station.
Exactly. I just want to be a little cautious as the amount of these containers that are going around town. They're not the most attractive things. And when you have that debris laying around or that like garbage bag just hanging there for weeks and weeks at a time. So I just want to be a little cautious as to where they're going and how many there are in town. Thank you.
Councilwoman Sandhusen, you have one other item.
Okay, yes, I have one other item. I've been approached by the New Milford Scout Troop 78, and all in transparency, I just want to say that I'm a Scout mom, and want to just say that I don't have any official capacity in this, so I'm just sending the request, forwarding the request to Mayor and Council that, and Troop Leader Kim Hunter is in one of the attendees as well. So she's participating in she's listening to our meeting as well. So the troop has been meeting virtually, and their request they have two requests. One is they've been active and meeting virtually, and they are seeking community service hours and opportunities. So so I'm passing on some information to other committees and committees that there is a request for community service hours from the Boy Scouts, that they're available and ready to serve. And they're also requesting information and permission to have outdoor socially distanced meetings within guidelines at the municipal lot at Knights Field. They had a meeting previously last week. They want to do this on Thursday nights at 7. The idea is that they would like to be able to have a larger space to be able to accommodate 25 people. They meet at the Presbyterian Church, and everyone brings their own chairs and has their appropriate PPE. So the parents and boys are able to meet in socially distanced, appropriate ways. So that's the question there, is like, would it be possible for them to meet at Knights Field parking lot, to have a little bit more space and to have some visibility, because they would like to be able to let people know that they have programs. They're going to be having summer programs available, and people can participate in those as well.
Lisa, you said that
Kevin can correct me. I don't know if we can grant permission to outside groups to gather on our property yet. I don't know if we're at that point, but granting permission is one thing, and people gathering less than 25 outdoors is something else, but
Well,
I don't know.
the executive order hasn't been lifted yet. We're winnowing it back, not as quick as I think any of us would like, but the first thing is you're limited to no more than 25 in any function.
Correct.
If you did it in someone's backyard, it would be the same thing. But we're really, under the first executive order, 142, we're not supposed to be doing anything at this point. So, I'd have to research whether we can loan out the parking lot. It doesn't strike me as that big a deal, but I would want to look at the executive orders first. And my initial reaction is that hasn't changed. So unfortunately, at this point, we're kind of stuck with that. Once that changes, that's up to the governing body. I don't really see a problem with it. We've let other organizations, the Girl Scouts, do their car wash, that sort of thing.
Right.
I don't see that as a real problem, and it's consistent with past practice. My concern is just 142 in the executive order for the moment.
My concern would be insurance and safety. It is a parking lot. Would they not rather use one of our fields where it's safer, where there are no cars and there's not an issue of parking or insurance?
Sure. Yeah, the Knights Field isn't available for use as yet, and then so that's a consideration. Mm-hmm. As long as it wouldn't cause any conflict with other usage. So that's the question, is like, how can the organizations and clubs be able to engage with meeting spaces, since outdoor meeting spaces are much more welcome.
You're not allowed to put chairs and tables on Kennedy, right?
Knights isn't open yet, right?
No, we can't be on the field.
Kennedy.
It's not a field,
Kennedy,
so not even constructed.
Right.
Kennedy Field.
I
So
meant,
Kennedy Field has limitations because
right.
Well, part of the issue, again, I know they want to get going, but the borough can't even have its programs right now. So I don't know that we can give it out to other worthy organizations. I have no problem with the Scouts at all. My son's an Eagle Scout. But that said, we can't, as the borough, start having different organizations. There's not a question of any conflict because we're not supposed to be meeting yet. So we're still, it comes back to Governor Murphy's executive order has not been lifted uniformly as everything. It's a slow rollout for a lot of good reasons, and we're confronted with that. So I think once we get clarification that we can start having programs of any kind, we can certainly put this before the council.
And if they're meeting at the Presbyterian Church, is there a reason why they couldn't continue to?
They would. It's an opportunity to have a little bit more space because it's a narrow lot. So it's just, and also they get to have some visibility. So. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help with visibility, but I would suggest, getting permission from Ascension. Their side lot is huge, but it's not very visible. That would be more than ample space for a socially distanced meeting if you got permission from them, since they own that property.
Well, for that matter,
That would be a suggestion.
Right. I guess the overarching question is like, how will people be able to engage? How will we be supporting our community organizations to engage in this opening up process? So part of the question was, what's available, where, are we limited to private? Is the municipal, will there be application process? So it's more, so it allows us an opportunity to look ahead at some questions down the road.
Well, in terms of the questions down the road, there's a process through the rec department for obtaining field space or recreational field space within the rec department. I mean, there's also the gazebo next to Borough Hall where we've had some demonstrations. That's another area that could easily be utilized. It's not a question of that. Right now, the executive order is in place. It's the state law. We have to follow the state law. All the members of the governing body have sworn an oath to follow the state law. I'm an attorney. I have to follow the state law. It's just what it is. I don't know there's any way to roll it out because it's not rolling out the way the public perception is. He's very specific in terms of little steps. And, so far we've dealt with opening some of the parks for passive recreation walking, non-contact sports, and there's not even clarity as to that. Now we're trying to get outdoor dining. Once we're going to be able to go back to work on the 15th, in theory, people are comfortable with that. The next step, hopefully, will be opening of events and programs and that sort of thing. But we were basically shut down by the governor from doing it. Once it's announced by the governor, I think it's an easy, we have procedures in place already, and people can certainly contact Chris and she'll direct them accordingly.
I mean, for use of like a parking lot, the only process that we have in place is that it's reviewed by the mayor and council and approved. Those things are done individually. And the only time we've ever used a parking lot, I think, is for something like a car wash.
Doesn't mean they couldn't. We also use it for the fire department on Fire Awareness Day.
I know, but to Ira's point, I have to say, from a safety perspective, having people set up with chairs sitting in a parking lot, I think is something that we would really have to run past the risk manager to get him to buy in on. It's definitely safer to do it in a park setting.
Definitely, the park or by the pond. That's definitely a safer setting.
Well, that's a good spot,
There's
but
the other
it's not
gazebos down.
high visible. I mean, I understand, Lisa, what you're saying about visibility. You're trying to bring attention to the Scouts. And in that case, you may as well go to the gazebo.
But if they can't have other people join in, the other people have to stand at a distance. So right now, the visibility might create other problems.
Well, I think Lisa said for further discussion, right? Isn't that what you said? Not for right now. You understand why they can't,
Of course.
but for further discussion.
Who knows,
Seemed like.
tomorrow they may change something else.
Oh, yes, seems like it. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. I'm complete.
Was- You're complete?
Yep.
Councilwoman Siraki Hurley, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm in the dark here, but I'm using my notes. So we have been, Lynn Sullivan, the director of the senior center, and the mayor, and also our administrator. We have been getting together, trying to have ideas and thoughts on how we can go about starting to work on the senior center to get involved again. And so I was speaking to Lynn this morning, and as the mayor said earlier in his report, that she's having a class on Friday, 9 a.m. You can, well, wait a minute, let me go back a minute. That's the chair yoga with Lynn on Facebook on Tuesday, tomorrow, at 10 a.m. What she was working on was an outdoor class at the field, Kennedy Field, Friday, 9 a.m. Just not a yoga class or anything, just maybe a walkabout around the pathway leading to the field where they'll stand and they'll, I don't know, lift their legs 5 times, whatever Lynn does exercise. That'll be on the 12th and also on the 19th of this month. Now, the way to sign up is going to be for Milford residents only, and that they're registered with the senior center. She will be at the center to accept phone calls the day before, just 24 hours before. It's going to come first come, first serve. 20, maybe 20 in a class. So that's one thing that has been started. And then she will notify everybody who's been accepted into this class. What else? Nothing much with the stigma free yet. Having difficulty, we want to have an outdoor yoga. Events, we're just holding up with our meetings. The next event will not be until November. And that's about it, really. Nothing else. Thank you.
Councilman Seymour.
Yeah, I just want to say how great I thought it was for our whole community to come together as the great town that we are this weekend to show solidarity and unity for peace and against injustice. And I also thought it was great. I thought the police did a great job of keeping everything safe and in order and facilitating the event. So I think all around it was just a great event, great speakers, and we all came together. I was very proud to be a New Milford resident this weekend in particular.
Great. Councilwoman Duffy.
Thank you, Mayor. Just reporting for the fire department. They've been training on the new truck. They're excited for the mayor and council to come for your initial inspection. However, the truck will be making a trip back down to mid-Jersey for some tweaking. They've got some issues, you know, brakes and whatnot. Just anything that goes, anything that happens in the very beginning, they want to get it taken care of right away. So as soon as that is scheduled and the truck comes back, they would love us to come and visit. So also, Vince and Sil, I want to say thank you to them. The fire department, the chief had put together a list of things that were in need of their attention in both houses, and those are being taken care of right now. Also, the DPW did a great job down at the fire training area, cleaned it up, got rid of some things, and it's looking much better, and it's a much better space for fire training. I want to say I did receive a letter from a resident about our deer population again. And today there was a bear in my neighborhood. So
I read that.
as soon as possible, I would love to run my How to Coexist with Wildlife in the Milford. I think it's time to bring it back for a second run. So whether we film it and put it up on Facebook or whatever we do, I'll be happy to get that going again. Also, I want to echo Councilman Seymour's feelings about yesterday's demonstration. It was just wonderful to see what these moms in New Milford organized, and just to see all the residents out. It was quite moving. So thank you to everybody on that. That's it. That's my report.
Thanks, Randy. Councilwoman Grant.
I want to echo what Councilman Seymour and Councilwoman Duffy said about the moms rally yesterday. It was very moving, and I want to particularly call out Tristan Ortega, who sang a song of his own composition, actually a rap song, and spoke very movingly about his life, and I think it warmed everybody's hearts. So it was great to be there in solidarity with everyone. The Board of Ed met last Monday, and there was a big discussion about what to do about graduation, and they will have a further discussion next Monday. Nothing has been decided. Well, nothing was decided as of last Monday anyway, although there were many options that were discussed. And as far as the census goes, we've gone up a little bit since our last meeting, but not by very much. At our last meeting, we were at 75.9%, I think, and now we're, I'm sorry, 75.9. Now we're at 76.3. So we've gone up a tad, but not nearly enough. We're still behind River Edge, which is at 81%, Oradell, which is at 82.8%, and Dumont, which is at 77.6%. So those are our immediate neighbors, and I really hope we can do better for our own sake, actually, as well as to show how great we are. But the higher percentage we have, the larger a share of what we're entitled to we'll get. I know that was a terribly phrased sentence, but you get what I mean. So please.
Eddie, how dare you?
I know, I really,
Eddie.
I could start all over. I sort of lost my train right in the middle there. But in any case,
I heard on today's news that the census is starting up to go back to door to door soliciting.
We'll go back. I can't understand you.
I didn't understand.
I heard on today's news that the census will be starting up going door to door now again.
Ah, I did not know that.
I heard that tonight, yes.
All right. But, well, you don't want people coming to your door, strangers coming to your door. So do it by, either online by phone or online by phone or by mail. So do it. It's for the benefit of, we can have better roads, we can pave our roads, we can have more funds for our schools and for all kinds of other things that we need money for. And therefore, the more money we get from the feds, the less we'll have to raise taxes. So this is really up to you. You can help yourself, you can help your neighbors, you can help all the residents in New Milford. So do your census. Thank you. Back to you, Mayor.
I just want to add, last Friday was the Triborough mobile testing site between Oradell, New Milford, and River Edge. I want to thank County Executive Jim Tedesco for granting us the mobile testing units and coordinating it with us. There were over 500 COVID tests, and there were over 300 antibody tests.
Will they
So
be coming back?
somewhere around tomorrow, Wednesday, people will be getting phone calls with their results. So we'll see how that works out. They usually go back to larger towns and municipalities or other ones that double up. I don't know if we will see them again. in our area. As others were saying, I want to thank everyone who showed up for protests. Everyone went out of their way to make sure best as possible that it was peaceful, somewhat socially distanced. Everyone was wearing masks, so I think everyone was concerned about safety at the same time as getting the message out. So I'm really appreciative of that. Thanks to the NMPD. There were no incidents, so they did a great job blocking the roads and kind of just following the march as it was going to keep them safe, as well as all the rest of the public that was going on around it. And today is New Milford's 343rd birthday. If you take a look at the office of the Facebook page, New Milford Office of the Mayor, you'll see a little bit of information about New Milford, and you'll see the picture of the headstone, which is out near the Huguenot Cemetery with the dates on it. So very excited about that.
It's the date
Although
that
New Milford was not 1922, our roots go back to the 1600s.
it's the
It's the
date.
Sorry,
patent date.
Hetty.
It's the date that David Demarest signed the the French
Patent.
the French
Patent.
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 Yes, exactly. I couldn't remember the word.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, which started the ball rolling.
That's all I have. Okay, so with that, may I get a motion to open to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public, anyone listening or following along? Now's the opportunity to ask us a question. I do know that one question came in by email, Chris, earlier today.
I'm sorry, which question are you referring to?
I thought I saw an email that said someone had a question about basketball courts tonight. Was that a question for our meeting tonight?
It wasn't.
But if it is, the answer is we can.
It wasn't a question for the meeting. Diane was just letting me know that somebody called about it and that she had told them that we were meeting tonight.
I believe the question was, when can the basketball courts be opened again? And I think that goes along the line with, we understand some sports will be allowed on the 22nd. We do not know which ones. We do not know if basketball will be considered a contact sport or a indirect contact sport, or even if you can do that with the social guidelines. So we are really not sure, but it is not opening before 22nd of June. That I'm confident.
Mayor, there's a question from a Kim, it looks like. How do you go about using the gazebo? You see that, Chris?
Okay,
Can't understand you, Ira.
Ira,
Chris
can I handle it? Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know if you said that. Yeah.
I think the answer is, Kim, I'm going to allow you to talk so that you could actually ask the question yourself. So I'm going to put you on that you're open now that you can talk.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I am one of the Boy Scout leaders. The reason we wanted to move our meeting is number one, space, but number two, visibility.
Can I just stop you for 1 second, Kim?
Yeah.
You need to give me your full name and your address, please.
Kimberly Hunter, 460 James Street.
Okay.
James Street.
Yeah, yay James Street, right? So part of what we're looking to do is we usually do recruitments through the school, which obviously we can't do right now in the current environment. But it was brought up by some of our members that we would like to start doing events that we can figure out, maybe limit people to a certain amount of time and a certain number, like maybe a small fishing derby, which we used to do over at Hardcastle Pond way back when. And say, you know, the first 10 people that respond, we'd like to teach you how to fish. It's something that Scouts enjoy. Or things like that. So we just wanted to let people know that we're still active and we're still out there. Like we did the food drive for the Ascension Food Pantry. There's a Scout in Paramus place taps every night over at the Veterans Hall. We're still here. We still want to help people and we still want to get the youth in our community involved. It's a really great program and we really have no way to reach out to anybody at the moment. So we were looking to have the meetings over by ShopRite or in another visible area, and we're covered by our own insurance. I'm not sure how that overlaps with yours, but anytime we have an activity, which meetings are considered, we're covered by the Boy Scout insurance as long as we don't blatantly do anything to put our members in harm. It's a blanket policy. So the gazebo sounds like a great idea, especially since it was an Eagle project. So I just would like to know, what would we need to do to meet there?
Well, I don't want to jump on Kevin, but right now it's not permitted. But in the future, if you wanted to have a meeting there, all you need to do is just email me with your request and with the details of who's going to be meeting and approximately how many people and the times. And in the past, there have been times where I've run it past the council, but in other times I've just reported to the council that the area has been reserved by either a Girl Scout troop or a Boy Scout troop on this date and time. It's an informal process.
Okay, and as Lisa did say, we are looking for, volunteer opportunities to get the kids out and doing things that uphold the Boy Scout tenets, because it's not all about the bad things you see in the news. We do some really great things, and we'd like for the boys to be able to continue doing them. So that's why we had requested if there are any volunteer opportunities at the moment within the guidelines set by the state and by the town. Our directive from our executives are you need to follow whatever rules have been prescribed by your town. So whatever the mayor and council say, okay, this is safe, you can do that, are the rules that we have to follow.
Once again, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I mean, like I said, it's a worthy organization. Again, we can't have any events yet. Maybe after the 22nd, it'll be another story. It's been a frustrating issue, but I mentioned 142 before. It really goes back to 107, the first executive order governor issued. The borough's not even having meetings or, other than the essential needs of government. So it's a little tough right now in this environment, but certainly once that's lifted, the borough can give them ideas for service projects and a place to meet and whatever else they need.
And I can't say that I know of any opportunities right now, but I can tell you that in the winter months, we do get a fair share of calls from seniors who are looking for help with snow removal. And we had a troop that we worked with in the past that we were in contact with, but they're no longer able to help us out. So if that's something of interest in the wintertime, I'd be happy to hook you up with the right people.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think once things start opening up, I'm sure we can come up with a number of volunteer projects that they can take part in.
Okay, thank you.
We know.
Just not in October, Mayor Petrino. Nothing in October.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be at the haunt. Chris, is there anyone else from the public who would like to ask a question?
We have one other attendee. At this point, they haven't indicated that they're interested in commenting. I have a minor inkling that it might be the person who was asking about the basketball courts. Yes, she's raised her hand. Okay, just a moment. Okay, yes. Unmute. Trying to okay. Okay, you're
Hello?
yes.
Okay, great. Hi, yes. Good evening.
How are you?
Hi.
Can you just give us your name and your address, please?
Yes, my name is Christine Kidd. I'm an essential worker at Valley Hospital, and I live at 893 Boulevard.
Well, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you all for your
Absolutely.
service as well to this town.
What can we do for you tonight?
Oh, yes, I just wanted to touch on the basketball hoop situation again. I do understand that playing an actual game of basketball does not fall within the guidelines outstated by the state as well as the town. However, I do know that it is very therapeutic to engage in the hand-eye coordination of dribbling and shooting the ball. I was hoping to have a further discussion of maybe we could have some court restrictions in place while we await an affirmative decision on the basketball play, something similar to the tennis where there's only 2 people perhaps allowed on the court, no sharing of the ball, just a way for people to have access to an outdoor activity that, like I said, is pretty therapeutic and a way for people to release stress in a safe manner.
As with all of our sports programs and facilities in town, it's an ongoing conversation that we're having with recreation as guidelines come out, as executive orders come out, as things open up. I don't think we are ready at this time to open up basketball, but that may change in the near future. And that's something that once that happens with certain guidelines or parameters, that's something we will advertise. We will put that on Facebook. We will get that out there so people know. But I don't see it at least in the next 2 or 3 weeks that we would be opening up the basketball courts.
Okay.
But thank you for observing, coming in and questioning.
Yes. I
Thank you
just know
so
how
much.
important it is, to stay outside. Like Councilwoman San Houston had mentioned, access to nature and activity is very important for the mental health of the community at this time. And it was very difficult for me to make a basketball hoop without a hoop there. So it was not as fun and therapeutic as it should be.
We are trying. We started with the pathways around the tracks. Then we opened up Kennedy Field. Then we did the basketball. Then we did the tennis court. So we are, as soon as we are able to do things, we're trying to get it open as soon as possible and as safely as possible, so everyone can enjoy what New Milford's all about.
Right.
So we're working on it.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Mayor, and all the councilmen for keeping that in mind. I think that would be a great move forward with restrictions in place to maintain the safety and the social distancing.
I agree with you. I can't wait until we can get back to normal.
Yes. Whatever normal may be.
Whatever
right?
normal might be, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having, allowing me to have a say or a voice in your discussion tonight.
Thank you for participating very much.
Thank you.
Anytime, come visit at our next meeting.
So to speak.
All right. Thank you all so much. Have a lovely night.
Thank you.
Thank
Be
you.
safe.
All right. Thanks. You as well.
Thank you.
Chris, anyone else?
No, I do not believe that there is anyone else that is attending as of right now.
So we're not what was it, must see TV Thursday nights? It's not. Can I get a motion to close?
Motion.
Oh, we have to do the resolutions. Oh,
Oh, right.
Close to the
Take it up.
public.
Close to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, if it's okay with Ira, I will move forward with approving the resolutions. Can I get a motion for consent on resolution 2020:147 through 2020:156?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Is there any other business before this council? If not, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for participating, and thank anyone who was a part of or was watching us. Too late, Eddie. Or watching us via our live stream on our borough website. Have a good evening. Stay
Good
safe.
night, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Aye.
Hey.